subscribe. Tariq Radio. Like and subscribe.
Family, a lot of people are talking about these scholarships. This has been a discussion too. On my broadcast the other day, I talked about how these Martin Luther King scholarships and these Juneteenth scholarships, every time you look up, it's some non-FBA students getting these scholarships. And now the bought and paid for tether class, the tether operatives, they're running around here talking about it is merit based, nigga. You FBAs are just jealous because the immigrants come over and whack harder and smarter than you niggas. They're trying to play that game. They're trying to play this game that these immigrants just happen to be so much smarter than foundational Black Americans, and it's merit based, and this is why they're getting these scholarships. That's horseshit. Because this one from Boston College, and again, I talked about this on my broadcast the other day, was some Afro-Latina chick who won, and then all the runner-ups were people with African immigrant last names, every single one of them. Somebody went a step further. They looked at all the winners from all of the previous years. Almost every winner, not almost, literally every winner every year is a foreigner of the Martin Luther King scholarship. They get like $35,000 or something like that. That's cap. No, no, no. I don't. That ain't merit based. A foundational Black American would win by accident if it was merit based. You're not about to tell me that some of these cats coming over here who just got through eating dirt cookies are just so academically more higher up than all of these FBA students out here. I don't believe that. I don't believe that whatsoever. Let me get my speaking of scholar, let me get my brother Professor Allen up in here. Professor Allen up in the building. Go ahead, Professor Allen. Hop on in, brother.
Hey Tariq, something was going on my mute button. I just want to, hey family, how y'all doing? You bringing up scholarships? I just want to let you know, brother, that I was a professor and an administrator at a historically Black college in Tennessee. I'm not gonna name the school, but I seen that what you're saying play out in faculty meetings. I seen professors from the diaspora from West Africa gatekeep classes that are prerequisites to go to medical school. Matter of fact, that's why I'm on X right now, was try to find out what was I looking at. I seen them gatekeep sororities and fraternities, and they from West Africa, and then turn around and make fun of American students who didn't get accepted or didn't get join the sorority that was created for foundational Black Americans. Tariq, just like Dr. Francis Cress Wells, and me and Dr. Wells have a similar story, because I didn't get tenure. I basically got fired because I wrote a book that supported foundational Black American children, and I stood up for foundational Black American children at a foundational Black American school. In a faculty meeting, I told an African professor that this African professor was bragging on 80% of my students failed my course. They're stupid. I said, sir, if 20% of your students fail, that's on them. But if 80% of your students fail, you're a terrible teacher and you need to
Mm,
resign. We need more of FBAs in higher ed. Our historically Black colleges, a lot of them are being taken over by vitriolic members from the diaspora, and they're taking over our legacy organizations. So I just want to say, in conclusion, what you're saying is factual. Last thing I'm going to say, it's not only the members of the diaspora taking over our historical Black colleges. Also a thing I didn't like that I saw were baby boomer foundational Black American administrators pushing this agenda, and I hadn't figured out why they're doing that
mm,
yet. On that, I
thank you
land.
so much. But yeah, at these schools, man, it's being tetherfied majorly. They're getting these hostile non-FBA administrators and staff members in these colleges, and they are deliberately prioritizing other immigrants. They are demonizing the FBA scholars, like my brother Professor Allen said. They did that to Dr. Frances Cress Welsing in the 70s. Howard University, they got rid of her. Nobody on the nobody is more brilliant than Dr. Welsing. Nobody. They got rid of her because of the way she challenged white supremacy. Now Howard University, it's the administrators, just the staff. It's tethered up. It's a whole bunch of non-FBAs running the show over there now. Ain't the dean over there non-FBA? Ain't the dean Caribbean now? So yeah, they're getting they got our hardcore, true to the game scholar warriors who are FBA, got them out the paint and put all of these non-FBA conformists in the place. And we got to understand something, man, because I don't believe none of this stuff when you're giving out these scholarships, especially these FBA themed scholarships based on the works of foundational Black Americans, and nothing but immigrants are getting them. No, no, I smell some dirty work here, and it should be questioned because we got a lot of immigrants who are in these schools, and we have to understand a lot of these folks, they have a history of fake degrees and having diploma mills, and they do a lot of academic scams. That's rampant in many of their countries and countries in Africa and the Caribbean. They have long-standing issues with fraudulent academic institution that issues fake degrees, fake diploma mills, um, in law, medicine, engineering, a whole bunch of stuff. So a lot of these people will use fake credentials to secure lucrative opportunities when they come over here at the expense of foundational Black Americans who are qualified. Let's keep it real. Y'all Google diploma mill scams and see where it comes from. Yeah. And they use a lot of fake academic credentials to get hired in American institutions. There's been so many cases where some of these African and Caribbean folks, excuse me, they get jobs at universities and they get medical licenses and nursing degrees and nursing jobs. And they're putting folks at risk because they don't know what the hell they're doing. These folks get these fake degrees and have no idea what they're doing. Yeah. And we got to understand there's a lot of these non FBAs on the scholarship boards and a lot of these committees. A lot of these academic scholarships intended for foundational Black Americans, like these MLK scholarships and the Juneteenth scholarships, they're being awarded to these non FBA students because the committee who selects these things are African and Caribbean. We see that on the damn reparations task force. Every time that I keep pointing this out, every time we have a reparations task force, they pop up like, yes, this group of people, they're going to decide on reparations. And we're like looking in their background, like, hey, hold on, what's this guy, what's his last name? Why is a bunch of Afro Latinos and Jamaicans and all of these people on the reparations task force and crashing it out? You notice this is why we ain't getting nothing. You notice that? There's a pattern here, family. We got all of these reparations task boards. We have one, some out here in California. There's one in New York, down in Atlanta. All of them got tethers on them, and then nothing gets done. You dig? The activists are out here saying, hey, let's word it this way. We're telling them how to word it. This ain't rocket science. Put this word in it, put this language in it. Let's make it lineage based. And then they want to argue with us. Well, let's make it race based because all Black people be suffering. No, we're not doing that. And then they're arguing with people. It's a whole thing. That's by design. Yeah? That's by design, ladies and gentlemen. And we got to understand this, man. What's problematic with these folks is that these non-FBAs get these scholarships and they do double dipping. They do a lot of double dipping. See what they do, they'll sit up in here and make videos talking about, yes, when I was an immigrant and we were told to stay away from you niggas. The white people told us if we wanted to get food or housing, we have to stay away from you FBA niggas. Okay. You're told you were told that you have to stay away from us, but the minute there's an FBA themed scholarship, like an MLK scholarship or anything like that, y'all elbow us the hell out of the way to get it. Y'all run up and then you become the blackest person on earth to get the damn scholarship. Yeah. And y'all double dip doing that shit because what happens is there's Caribbean and African themed scholarships that only Africans and Caribbeans can get. We can't even touch it. So you get those too. So I ain't with that double dipping stuff. I ain't with that double dipping. You see? There's Nigerian scholarships for Nigerian Americans and all of that. I ain't with that double dipping shit. If I can't touch y'all shouldn't be able to touch anything that's FBA themed. Any Juneteenth scholarship, you should stay your ass away from it. If there's an MLK scholarship, stay away. I don't want to hear all that. Well, Dr. King was for everybody. No, we're not doing that double dipping. If we can't get a part of those Caribbean scholarships, you can't get a part of our scholarships. I ain't with that. Straight up and down. That ain't merit based. You got these people who are working within these institutions, over these committees and over these boards, prioritizing their fellow immigrants. That's what they're doing. They're putting the Joy Reids in these education institutions, you see? And doing that double dipping, that takes resources away from foundational Black Americans. These scholarships themed around our culture, such as those commemorating the legacy of Dr. King and reparations and Juneteenth, those were created to address the historical injustices and systematic oppression that we faced as foundational Black Americans. So when these African and Caribbeans, they get these funds, that strips away critical resources from the very group these programs were meant to uplift. You understand? All that old tethering. I don't like that shit, because then what happens is these folks come over here, finesse the money, and then start talking shit. And then start talking greasy towards us. And let's be real, there's a lot of these immigrant administrators in these institutions, and they're looking out for other immigrants. They're prioritizing these people over us. Family, just like Professor Allen has said, we've seen some of these non-FBA administrators and professors at these universities. We've seen them online talking shit about foundational Black Americans. Again, I like to point out to a couple of people. There was one up in New York that we got out the paint. There was another one out there in Philly. She was teaching out there in Philly. She was a Nigerian professor out there. We pulled up old tweets of her calling us all types of Akatas for years. Just, yeah, there's Akata this and Akata that. We were all types of goddamn Akatas. And this is a person who's teaching Black students. Was another dude in New York. He was teaching at a college, and we were all types of Akatas and lazy Akata this and a lazy Akata that. And he's teaching Black students up in New York. We see that all the time. So these same people who run around on social media calling us Akata this and Akata that, they're the same people who's in charge of awarding these scholarships. There's a reason why we keep seeing them go to immigrants. Fact, it's not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence whatsoever. I don't like the double dipping, because look, a lot of these non-FBA immigrants, they don't really advocate for foundational Black American issues. These people who get these FBA themed scholarships, they don't really stomp for us, nor are they going to use the resources to uplift our community. They get the scholarships based on Dr. King and all of that, and then get that money and then hoard it in their little old enclaves. You dig? No, I'm cool on that. They focus on their own ethnic groups' advancements and then still distance themselves from us, only come around when there's some money to be given to them. Yeah, when they want to get financial aid, higher education, a well-paying job, or whatever. That's when they come around. And I don't like these folks getting these MLK scholarships, these non-FBAs, because y'all, let's be real. Many of these foreigners, they're the main ones who demonize and mock Dr. King. Family, just last month, we would check tethers all over the country for having events. Y'all remember, they would have these events and they would put up these flyers with these old janky ass AI images of Dr. King with like a do rag on, smoking a blunt. Rosa Parks twerking on them. It was Tethers doing that bullshit, remember? It was Tethers doing that, and we had to check these people on that constantly. So I'm not cool with none of that stuff. I ain't cool with that whatsoever. I am not cool with that. And family, it's just not our job to sit up here and we have to be the sacrificial lambs for all of these people. No, those days are over. Let me get some more calls in here. Let's get Peter. We got a lot of folks in the building. Peter, hop on in here, brother. Hey, how you doing, Pete?
Yeah, what trying to figure this out. Who is the leader in the black community for conservative or libertarian movement? And how do you get a lot of the people who have been hoodwinked by the Democrats and that are convinced in the churches nonstop that they should vote Democrat? How do you win them back over and get them on the right side?
One, there are no conservative leaders nowhere. There's no Democrat leaders either. There's no leadership as far as that, which is good. We don't need that because leaders, quote unquote, can usually get co-opted and bought off, and um, they're sent out here to manipulate people. So there's no leaders in that respect. What can be done to get people to realize that the Democrats are running a con game? You just talk to people like we're talking now. There are going to be some people who are just going to be loyal to a fault. There's going to be some people who like those catfish nuggets that Jim Clyburn makes every election cycle. But luckily, there's a sophisticated sector of Black society, especially here on the grassroots, who are listening to logic. And that number is growing more and more and more. And that number is significant enough to crash out an election for the Democrats, which is what we did in the last election. They lost because of the grassroots, and they know that. So we're already making an impact, and we're going to continue to make an impact because we're letting them know that the grassroots are speaking, and we're telling them if they want us to vote for them, they're going to have to bring some tangibles to the foundational Black American community. So we're making it real plain. It's not going to be rocket science. We're making it real simple. That makes sense, Peter?
Yeah. One more, if you could, one more question. How do you feel Trump is doing so far? And do you like the picks that he's made for his administration and cabinet?
Yeah, I think Trump is doing a great job so far. I think Trump is doing an absolutely great job. He would do a phenomenal job if he had a program that gave tangible benefits specifically to our lineage. So far, I have no complaints about what Trump is doing. He hasn't done anything to harm foundational Black Americans. He's giving us some symbolic acknowledgments, just like the Democrats did, but even his symbolisms are better than the Democrats. So he's still winning on symbolisms. Even though we want more than symbolisms, Trump has basically crashed out the Democrats. So if they try to do their little janky symbolisms, that's not going to work because Trump's symbolisms are even better while we're waiting on tangibles. So we're going to see how this thing plays out, but I have no issue with what Trump is doing so far.
Appreciate it,
Oh,
man.
man,
Look forward to talking again.
thank you so much. Yeah, I don't have an issue with Trump. Trump didn't do nothing to us. Yeah, you have some of the Democrat shills who call up, how come you got a lot of smoke for the Democrats? How come you ain't got no smoke for Trump? Why would I have smoke for Trump? Trump didn't do nothing to us. Trump has not done one single thing negative to foundational Black Americans. Nothing. He hasn't done anything to us. He hasn't put no policies out there to harm us. But there's some immigrants Black immigrants. No immigrant. We ain't immigrants. They're going to have to handle that. Let them handle that. I'm not an immigrant. All right, let me get some more people in here. All right. Let's get two phone wick. Two phone wick. Hop in two phone wick. All right, hop on in here. Two phone wick. Excuse me. All right.
My bad. Um, I wanted to know if you've seen the whole debacle with Lord Jamar and Godfrey. And I understand, like I listen to you a lot, so I know you and Godfrey are kind of cool,
Yeah,
but we got to start actually looking at Godfrey a certain way because he might be a potential leak in the operation. And I say that because, and this is something that's been brewing up for a minute now, because I've been watching you and Godfrey, and I've been watching him with a side eye, Godfrey. And he recently had Crazy Legs up on his podcast, like talking about the Puerto Rican influences in hip hop. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, I knew it. Like I knew he was on some tether shit. We gotta really like I understand you are cool with him, but we gotta really at the very least look at him as a potential leak in the operation. Because I also I follow a lot of people. I pay attention to a lot of people. There's this Harvard professor that goes to yeah, he teaches at Harvard, the Gullah language at Harvard. His name is Sunim Cho.
okay.
And there was a guy named Godfrey. He was talking about how black people say axe instead of ask, and he was kind of critiquing black society for saying axe instead of ask. And the guy that teaches the Gullah language, Sunim Cho, he was saying like actually axe is correct because in the Gullah language, that's what how they pronounced it before it got colonized and like flipped up to ask with a K. And then Godfrey went on a tangent, saying like, "Oh, I'm blacker than you. No matter how many dashikis and stuff you wear, you'll never be blacker than me," and little shit like that. And I don't mean to cuss,
Yeah,
but I'm passionate about this kind of stuff. So it's like we gotta really look. And then on top of that, Lord Jamar himself is calling him a tether. I don't know if you know, Lord Jamar, he has a podcast called The God Pod,
right.
and he's saying that Godfrey is basically having a tether crash out. And it's like, nigga, we gotta really understand. Like, I'm not saying like just shit on Godfrey, but we gotta really look at him as a leak. Like he's not like he's a wobbler. I'm gonna just say he's a wobbler. He's not somebody that's solid like that. And people like don't want to look at him that way. And I understand it. Like from different from the general perspective, I understand it because like he presents himself as this pro-black person, but it's very deceptive.
Got
Like I genuinely believe he's a covert tether, and it really does bother me. Like it pisses.
okay, brother. Shit, wrap it up. Got it. Okay, you're saying the same thing over and over. Okay, I don't know. I gotta look and see. I knew that Godfrey and Lord Jamar were kind of beefing. I don't know what it's about. I'm very cool with Lord Jamar. That's my brother. I'm cool with Godfrey. I'm good. Me and Godfrey, we have a very respectful communication thing. So yeah, I'm cool with Godfrey. I don't know what's going on with that. I will look into it. I'm gonna look into see what's going on with that.
From New York Times bestselling author Tariq Nasheed comes Foundational Black American Race Baiter, the groundbreaking book shaking up the conversation on race in America. As one of the most influential voices for Black Americans today, Nasheed exposes the tactics used to manipulate, subjugate, and control Black communities. In this powerful read, Tariq Nasheed equips you with the knowledge to resist injustice and reclaim your narrative. Don't miss out on the book that's redefining the game. Foundational Black American Race Baiter, available now at officialfba.com. Get your copy today.